Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, July 13th, 2023 Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order and have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Marquardt?
Here.
Commissioner Mather?
Here.
Commissioner Barilla? Here.
And we're going to have Pastor Billy Tucker do our invocation. If you come up to the microphone, please.
Father, as we gather today, we thank you that we are a free nation. We ask for direction and wisdom from our national government to the state, to the county, to the city. And Lord, as these good people meet today to carry on the business of the people, we pray for wisdom as they watch over and protect us. We thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the deepest symbol of perfect friendships among united cultures. You want to pull anything? Okay, we're going to pull item 19 from the consent agenda just for discussion. And I'm going to move on the new business. I'm going to move Nina up from 28 to first, just so she doesn't have to sit through all the others. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda. Do I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll start with our Sheriff's Office report.
Good morning, Commissioners. David Black, Otero County Sheriff.
Good morning.
Morning.
For June of 2023, Otero County Sheriff's Office responded to 3,731 calls for service. Again, that's higher than last month. It's the highest we've had since I've been the sheriff there. I looked at this and we got about, that last we saw was about 12% of these calls are calls for mutual aid or assistance with other agencies. We got some agencies surrounding us that are lacking in staffing. So between Alamogordo, Tularosa, and sometimes Cloudcroft, we're helping out with their calls for service. So about 12% of these calls are, taking calls in their jurisdiction, just helping them out. Just to kind of give you a perspective on that number there, in January, we had the numbers for January of this year. It come out to about 88 calls a day on the average. For June, we got 124 calls a day on average. So it's our numbers are way up. My guys are working really hard. They are going call to call to call just every single day, and it's we try to make sure on their days off that they are at home, they are with their families and stuff. We are not calling them in as often as as we need to just they got to have that downtime. They got to recharge a little bit. Out of these calls for service, we had 262 investigative reports. We investigated 74 traffic crashes, had 60 arrests for the month, 5 summonses and non-traffic warrants were issued, and we issued 178 traffic citations. For narcotics, they had 3 search warrants, 4 arrests, 1 agency assist, created 14 case reports, seized $590 in cash. We had 2 vehicles seized, 1 firearm seized, 1 fugitive apprehended, 1 jail possession case, 38.7 grams of meth, 34 grams of marijuana, 6.4 grams of cocaine, and 9 fentanyl pills. We had a total of about $4,623 worth of illegal narcotics. I know these numbers are kind of down a little bit this month. they'll be better soon. Good things to come. I'll just leave it at that. Special events or public relation events. We have attended several PSAP meetings during the month to assist with keeping the dispatch center on schedule for the August go-live. Also attended a PSAP board meeting to approve the budget for the dispatch center. Myself, Director John Barney, Matt Clark, and Jerry Hernandez from the Alamogordo Fire Department. We got to go to Denver with the Air Methods, which is our native air helicopters. We went up and toured their facility. There was some discussions about the possibility of Director Barney and our dispatch center possibly handling dispatch services for those helicopters in the southern part of the state. So that's kind of in the works. We'll see what happens with that. On the 15th, he attended a monthly meeting with all law enforcement in the county to discuss current trends and any pending operations each agency may be dealing with. Again, that's a monthly meeting we do. We get all agencies in Otero County. We meet, and it's really nice to learn what else is going on, that other people are dealing with, and how can we be of assistance if they need. On the 21st, he attended the 49th Security Forces change of command to meet the new commander, and we got a meeting on the 28th with him, so get that relationship started off and go on with them. On the 22nd, we had a Zoom meeting in reference to National Faith and Blue Weekend event coming up in October this year. The National Faith and Blue Weekend is a collaborative initiative that builds bridges and breaks down biases through activities and outreach amongst law enforcement professionals and the communities they serve. This is something that's kind of just getting kicked off. We're gonna see what it's all about, see if we can participate. On the 25th through the 28th, they attended the National Sheriff's Association in Grand Rapids, Michigan. As part of the board for the New Mexico Sheriff's Association, as well as the Southwest Border Sheriff's Association, we were invited to present to the sheriffs kind of on the East Coast. There was a lot of them there. We kind of gave them a brief on what we're dealing with at the border, what we're seeing down here. And I tell you, there was a lot of them, they were shocked as to what is actually going on. They see what's on the news a lot of times and stuff, but when they actually talk to the sheriffs that are fighting this battle down here, totally eye-opening experience for them. We made a lot of good connections, met a lot of people, different organizations that there'll be some more talks. I think in 2 weeks we're going to Florida to meet with some more Florida sheriffs and stuff. There's a possibility there could be some additional resources, some additional tools that we will have at our disposal to help, along the southern border. Not just, Arizona, us, Texas, everybody. In training, most of our training right now is completing our biennium training. One other project or training that's going on right now, we've begun this training and we'll continue for several more days. What we got going on right now is a multi-agency active shooter training. It's being held at Chaparral Middle School, and we've got us, state, the PD, Border Patrol. We got a total of 4 days of training that we'll all participate in, and that way if something happens, we all know what the others is going to do and what responsibilities they have and stuff. So, so far we've had 1 day of it. Feedback so far is excellent training, and it just helps to have everybody on the same page. As far as our manning, we did have the one retire. We got 2 deputies that started. That graduated the academy. They are now in the FTO program, and they're both doing very, very well. I have 2 additional new recruits that just started their pre-academy training. January 25th, I believe it is, they'll start the academy in Santa Fe. I have made a couple of job offers to some new hires. One of them started on the 9th of this month. The other is still in the background phase, so hopefully we'll have them on board. So that leaves me with one position open right now out of 54. So I'm very blessed that we're able to stay, pretty well fully staffed. We're going to have a physical fitness testing, which is the beginning of our hiring process on the 12th of August. We got that posted on social media and everything. I think Raul told me we got about 8 applications already. So hopefully we'll get some more people picked up on that. As far as vehicles, we've got the Tahoes that are currently at the upfitter. We talked yesterday, and he said hopefully by about Wednesday of next week we'll have 2 of them out, and he'll go to work on the rest of them. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
David, I have a couple of questions. One on your, you said you had 8 applications. Excuse me. You were going to have some additional officers go to the Chaparral area. Are those already included in your staffing, or will they be new hires too?
I didn't understand. Repeat that, please. As far as
So you say you have 8 applications coming in, you have 1 position open, and we were going to get some additional officers to go on the Chaparral area, 2 or 4 or something like that. Did that include, are you counting those and you're just missing 1 person, or will those be counted for the 8 that's coming in?
Well, the 8 is just applications. They'll have to test and see
Right.
if they pass everything. But what I've done is I've got 10, 11. I got 12 deputies assigned to just Chaparral. But when we get done, the ones that are in the FTO program right now, 2 of those will go to Chaparral.
Okay.
So we'll have 2 additional bodies
Okay.
down there.
They're already counted for.
That's already counted.
Okay.
Yeah.
My other question is, I've really been noticing, I've always noticed it, but I've really been noticing it lately, these 3-car towing deals going down the road that looks like a rattlesnake going down. Is that legal?
Yes, sir.
It is legal to
Yes,
do
sir.
that? Okay. My understanding, it was not bumper to bumper was not legal.
Yeah, we've researched that. We've looked at it. I mean, if there's something different, we need to know about it. I mean, we've never enforced anything on that.
Okay.
When I was with the city for many years and stuff like that, I mean, the only thing we look at is the overall length, when it comes to like vehicles and trailers or semis and stuff like that. Certain roads have certain length restrictions and stuff like that, so.
It's got to be fifth wheel or gooseneck to tongue. It can't be tongue to tongue. That's what the statute says.
Do you have
And
that
then-
statute number?
On my other phone, I do, yes.
If
I'll
you-
send it
Send it
to
to
you.
me.
And then the center is required to have brakes, right?
Yeah, it's just like with the trailer, camper or anything like that. If you got jet skis behind it or
Right.
something, the middle one has to have brakes
Right, but it
also,
can't be
yes.
a tongue camper and then a tongue jet ski. It's got to be fifth wheel or gooseneck and then tongue.
Cool. If you'd send me that, I will read
Most of
up
these
on
that you're
that.
talking about are just those cars, like it's a car pulling a car pulling a
Yeah.
car. Is that what you're talking, because I
Yeah.
see those all the time too.
And they think they can get away with it because now they're doing puller on a dolly, car on a dolly, and then a tongue pull, but it's still tongue, tongue, tongue. It's not considered fifth wheel or gooseneck.
Fifth wheel attachment.
Yep.
You'll send me that.
I will.
Definitely look into it.
Anything else?
It's been a couple of months that I asked for more patrols at Appler. I talked to you about people running that stop sign at La Presida and Appler. Do you know if we've caught anybody or done anything about that?
I do not. I can pull the numbers up,
Okay.
my ComStat reports, and so I can pull it up and see if there's been any additional.
And then I went to a community meeting in Bent, and they were complaining about the intersection, No Gal, Bent Road, and Mauer. They're actually wanting a four-way stop put in there, and I don't think it meets the requirements, but they talked about speeders and people even running that stop sign. Do you think we can get some more patrols up in that area?
I'll be totally honest with you right now, we will try.
Okay.
With the number of calls that we have for right now, I mean, I got guys that love traffic. They'll go up there and they will write, even Steve and Angelina in Chaparral. You know, I've put out the notice that our Stone Garden patrols and stuff like that work that intersection. They don't have time to run traffic and stuff right now. I mean, they are going call to call to call. And the last couple hours of their duty, you know, their 12-hour stint, I mean, they're trying to hammer out reports and stuff, you know. They're just getting hammered right now. So the only thing I can do is see if I can work on, you know, with the Stone Garden patrols, the state grant money and stuff like that, start assigning them to some of these, see if we can get some extra guys in. Some of them, though, I mean, it's like, they get hammered and they need to recharge. They got a couple of days that they need to take off and then recharge. So I will work on that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Morning, Commissioners. Matt Clark, Emergency Services Director.
Good morning.
For the month of June, the volunteers responded to 221 calls for service. 36 of them were fires. They had 16 structure fires, 153 EMS calls. So all in all, it was a busy month for them in June. Codes opened up 24 new cases, 12 were solid waste, junk vehicles, weeds, illegal burning, and some illegal dumping. They closed 15 cases. We did 17 fire inspections and 2 fire investigations. Did 67 follow-ups. Up at the slash pit, we did 141 loads for the month of June, and then 3 people took 3 loads out of firewood or whatever that they wanted. The cleanup that we did at Bulls Acres, we ended up with 10.17 tons of trash removed, and that was just over 3.5 weeks. So that was a success, and we're moving that one to another area to try and get some more cleanup. So with that, do you have some questions?
That's a lot of fires. Isn't that a lot of fires to respond to?
It is.
Anything in common? I mean, any
No,
reason?
no, there wasn't.
That's a
Just
lot.
the only, I guess the only common one was chickens and heat lamps. The chickens would knock over the heat lamps and started fires.
Oh, chicken.
So, and it's 100 degrees out. I'm not a chicken farmer, so I don't know, but
Yeah.
I don't know why you need a heat lamp on a 100-degree weather, but they need them. So the only thing I'd say with that is use caution if you are raising chicks, because those heat lamps will start fires.
Interesting. Okay.
What's the update on all the Quail Trail mobile homes that are falling apart?
Quail Trail is with RB. They're trying to find the owner of the property and all that.
We sent a certified letter out 2 weeks ago to who we believe is the owner, and so far they have not been, they've not signed for it, so.
Do we have yet a process, if that comes back undeliverable or even deliverable, to where we can start putting a lien on the property and start cleaning the stuff up?
We do not have that process. We need to be able to make contact with an owner so we can charge them criminally, and when we can't figure out who the owner is, that creates a roadblock. Yeah, it's been long enough that if they haven't signed for it in 2 weeks, they're probably not going to sign for it, so we need to come come up with something else, so I'll work on that.
Mimic what the city's doing? I mean, they're tearing down houses mostly at this point.
Well, that's kind of a separate process, and for the one that you identified in La Luz, I think it's was the Eileen Acres, or that we'll bring a resolution next month for the commission to declare it a dilapidated, dangerous building, and that'll start the process on that.
Great, thank you. That was my next question. That makes me happy.
We have about 5 of them that we're going to be bringing to the attorney's office for their resolutions.
You can bring me 20.
The easy part is doing the resolution. The hard part is paying for it. So I believe you budgeted $150,000 is what I think off the top of my head. So that'll fund 3 to 5 demolitions, unfortunately.
So isn't there a process, and we fund it, we put a lien on the property?
We put a lien on it, but
Okay.
that doesn't mean we get money. I mean, can't make money appear.
Right.
So there's a lien on it, but it may take who knows how long to recoup any of that.
Matt, where are we at on the updating of the ordinances on the illegal dumping and stuff like that? I know we were trying to get all of our trash rules and regulations updated, brought up. There are some people in the audience that are going to talk about that today. So while you're here, where are we at?
It had stalled out and through multiple issues, none of which are legit, so to speak. But we're going to be bringing that one back in, working with Jay and RB to come up with solid ordinances that allow us to do more. Because right now, there's not a lot that we can do through that ordinance that's on the books right now.
And we had several meetings and discussions about it, and I don't see a ton of room for improvement or change to them. I think they're mostly adequate, but we can have further meetings and open to feedback and suggestions from people in the audience or the commission. If any of the commissioners want to attend, we can have another meeting. But the undersheriff attended them, and we had lots of discussions about what enforcement looks like, and seeking the most advantageous route is to seek compliance and incentivize it, rather than trying to get it through threat and coercion. And it needs to be equal across the county. And so the county it's not unique, but it's different. It's not like a city where you can easily say, you shouldn't have this in your yard, you shouldn't have that. There's farms and ranches all across the county that have various junk piles, and they have reasons for those junk piles, and whenever something breaks, go out to their junk pile and get it. Well, why are they allowed to have a junk pile, but someone out at Bulls Acres, their junk pile is different? And trying to put that into words and make it fair and equal and enforceable is challenging.
I can understand that. One of the biggest deals is the illegal dumping, just throwing stuff out. To be able to crack down on that.
I mean, that's clearly illegal. I mean, there's state statutes against it. There's county ordinances against it. And that's a matter of seeing it and being able to correct it and deal with it when it's done. Or if you're talking like someone just driving out somewhere and throwing a couch or whatever else junk out, and there's Tooley Dump Road and all the issues with that. Like Sheriff Black just said, his guys are going from call to call, and they don't have time to enforce traffic. regulations. It's kind of the same thing with trash, unfortunately.
So what's our fine if we catch somebody doing that? Can the county, can you administer a fine through the code enforcement?
They can issue a citation that would then send it to magistrate court.
And I want to say it was up to 300.
Should be 300.
The county landfill is free to deliver if you're a county resident, and they charge if you're not. Is that correct?
The,
free for everyone. Free for everyone. So on the hours they're closed, what if we put a container outside?
It may help.
that would be a question for Ralph.
I mean, is that doable? Is that?
I would think it would help, maybe. Instead of throwing it on the side of the road, at least they could take it and put it in a container. I think that'd be a question for Ralph.
And then, I see with the new dispatch and all that, we're gonna be changing some procedures. I'm not sure if this is a John question or a you question, but responses for fire departments and all that, whenever there's a call. I see that you're gonna change it to where it's kind of like the call goes out and everybody can respond, which I understand because we're so short-handed. But on the other side of that is, do you think that's the best way to dispatch everybody?
So the best way is to have another 30 or 40 EMTs in each of those departments so that they could set up a rotation. But since that's not happening, we can page out, the way it used to be was we would page out Alma West. If they did not respond, they'd second page after 5 minutes. And then first page, Ora Vista, Bulls Acres. After Bulls Acres doesn't respond, 5 minutes, second page, Ora Vista, 5 minutes. First page, I think it went to La Luz. So that time frame just adds up, and by the time it gets to a department that has an EMT available, the call has either been handled by the city or something else has happened. So by doing the flats departments all at one time, now I don't have to second page all of the departments and increase that time. So we are shortening that time. And then once they go in service, they just have to communicate with each other that I'm here, I can make it, pick up the ambulance for me, whatever, so that they're communicating. And we're doing that Monday through Friday when we're really hurting for daytime EMTs. So short of getting more EMTs, I don't see another way to do it.
Why would you not do it geographically based? Like if the call comes from Borough Flats, why would it not first page hits Borough Flats and then?
So if the call is for Borough Flats district, Borough Flats is first response to it. And then if it's a call in Borough Flats, they will get paged separately. What the big conglomeration of, I think it's 8 departments being paged, is when the city is out of ambulances and they need an ambulance to cover, usually it's the city. If the call is up in James Canyon area, we don't page those flats departments to go up to the mountains because the mountains have the ambulances. The James Canyon would then be the mutual aid department for the city to transport that. So it's only for when the city is out of ambulances because of system overload.
Is there, are there issues with like stats and the padding of those for departments that maybe I'll use Borough Flats again. So it's one of these city calls, so everyone gets paged, but the incident or whatever they need to respond to is in Bulls Acres, are they going to get have a negative impact as far as stats go for state funding and things like that if they don't respond?
No.
Okay. Okay, so there's no issues or concerns with things like that.
No. And yes, that's a long trip for Pearl Flats to drive down to Bulls Acres, but they may have the only 2 EMTs that are working.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, that's the case, and you just roll with it, but.
Right.
Maybe rather than just have an at-large response, maybe we should target 2 at a time. Because I listen to the scanner, and sometimes it is 10, 15 minutes before they get a response. I get it, and I sit there and think to myself too, somebody needs response now. But my fear is, and it's already coming to fruition, that everybody races and they claim their territory, now they're fighting, this is my job, and then we're being very unprofessional, and I get it, we're supposed to be communicating and all that kind of stuff, but we're not, they're not. And so how do we prevent a fight on the scene over who's gonna take this guy's blood pressure versus, trying to herd the cattle away from each other? I don't know how to solve that problem.
I don't know how to solve that problem either, because there are individuals that will absolutely respond to Las Cruces if they were called. And yeah, that's not my district, but they called, I'm going to go. And we'll worry about that later. And then there's others that are, well, you passed through my district, why didn't I get called? And that's a human nature, and you can't fix that.
It just seems we could fix it with
Policies and
policy.
procedures.
Yeah. And, I'm willing to help. I just think that racing to a scene is not the right answer, because that's just going to create a fight. If you did that for tow truck companies, I guarantee there'd be knockdown, drag-outs, whoever gets there first. It's the same thing, right? It's same thing. They're just as passionate about helping somebody, but it's not passionate about the patient at that point. It turns into fight amongst each other. So we gotta fix it. We can't let it continue. And if we need to write policies, I don't even know.
It's hard to write a policy to have you check your ego at the door. And that's what it comes down to.
It'd be really.
It is ego at the door.
Mhm.
And there are some people that can check their ego at the door, and there are others that cannot.
Mhm. Is there any kind of training available, reroute their direction as far as serving the community versus trying to get a name recognition? I don't know. Okay. Well, you know about all that. I went to the community meeting event, and Ralph was there too. They're requesting a recycling bin up there at the fire station. And Ralph was saying that we don't have another one to be able to place there. We'd have to purchase one. Can we get a recycling bin up there at that fire station again? I guess Rick Hiles used to handle it, and now that he's passed, nobody's handling it, so.
That is
another Ralph thing.
that's
Yeah.
a Ralph or whoever
Yeah.
does the recycling.
Okay. Okay, I think that's,
Pamela, at our next meeting, can we have Ralph show up?
Yes, and I'm taking notes.
Because Matt and I have talked about the Chaparral Convenience Center down there. And it'd be something we need to talk to him about.
Yes, I'll have him here.
And you got my email about the man in Tiburon that needs the inspection by his house, about the illegal septic?
I did not.
Okay, I think,
And if it's a
Couple of days.
septic, that's state EPA.
okay. Yeah, he said they've got just raw septic flowing, so.
Yeah, that'd be the state EPA. And he needs to call Because what we have found out is if we make the call as the county, the state goes, oh, the county's handling it, and they totally wash their hands of it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Do we have anything else? Nope. Okay. Thanks,
Matt.
Matt.
Thank you.
And Tom is out sick, so he will not be doing a report, so Trent?
Good morning, Commissioners. Trent Parker, Project Manager, and we've had a pretty busy month. Chin's Phase 3, we had the bid opening for it, and it's on the consent agenda today for awardment to White Sands Construction for the third phase of the project. The PSAP Dispatch Center this month, the lighting and electrical trim outs was completed, and the above ceiling inspections were passed, and the ceilings have been padded out. Our IT room equipment, all the radio equipment, call works, and the access control and security was all installed, and we're working on getting all of those up and running. For the training that is scheduled for the week of the 24th, and we're still on schedule to go live in that area August 9th. And so we're pretty happy that that's coming through. We are still waiting on the air handlers to show up. They were supposed to ship on the 7th of this month, and we're still trying to find out. We received a tracking, but we're still trying to find out when we're going to have delivery of those. So we're hoping that that's going to be this upcoming week so that we can get the AC units hooked up and get the test and balance completed. The Burrow Flats Water Storage Tank Project, we did award the foundation and concrete work to 424 Excavation, which we're working on getting their contract executed so that we can get the foundation and concrete completed. And I'm currently working on the request for pricing for the water storage tank itself. So we're hoping to keep moving along with that. This month, they actually this week had one of their existing 22,000 gallon tanks kind of implode on itself and completely came apart, so we're trying to race to get their new tank in place. The phone upgrade system, a lot of the equipment has been installed, a lot of the phones have been programmed or in place, but not of use yet because they're still trying to port over our existing numbers into the new system, and they've come across a few snags, but we're trying to get those worked out and get the phone upgrade system completed. The Alamo Street Phase 2 project, we suspended the project last month for utility relocates. We're still trying to work through those utility relocates so that we can get the project back up and running. This month we started on the Sidney Paul Gordon shooting range. They received a grant for the new shooting bays, and so we went out and staked those out, and we're getting a request for pricing and scope of work together so that we can put that out for bid and get started on expanding his bays. That also includes the 100-yard range bay that the commission put forth money for, and it's also to move their 360-yard bay back to 400 foot as well. So we're trying to get all that worked out. Along with that, the Riata Road Pecos Bridge and Susie Ann Bridge are currently out for bid right now. We're going to have those bid openings by the end of the month and try to get those projects awarded in the August commission meeting. And that's about all I have.
Have you got all your red line stuff from White Sands from the jail? Is it, everybody caught up there? The closeout documents went for review. They had some changes. They're working on getting those changes to get that, so we're not completely closed out. The missing glazing was shipped on schedule, but has been lost in transit, and they are trying to get that located in here, but it is lost by the transportation company that was supposed to be delivering it, so getting this glazing's been a mess, but still working on it. And that's about the last remaining items. There's a few little things that we're actively working on to try to get completed as well. Okay.
That tank that exploded at Burrow Flats, it's nobody's job to clean up the tank. Can you tell me whose job it is to clean up the remnants of the tank? Everybody I talk to is like, I don't do that, I don't do that, not my job. So whose job is it?
That's a good question.
We'll work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But, I think that's all.
Well, thank you, Trent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trent.
Haven't seen you in a long time. Busy, busy. No, it's good.
Good morning, Commissioners. Correctional Services Director of the Otero County Detention Center. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nina Sisler. My report is somewhat short, but today our average population was 200. Total population today was 179. In-house, I do have 134, 112 males, 22 females. I do have 13 at Otero Prison, 17 at Hudspeth County, 6 are at treatment, and 2 are on furlough. I do have 2 out at other counties for court, but they still have our pending charges. I have 2 on 60-day diagnostic, and 1 is OCJ hold for mental health at the prison, 2 juveniles, and for video court within the facility, we had in the month of June 34 and 104 magistrate, 110 district. As far as vacancies, I have about 24 officer vacancies. I did have 1 start July 11th. I have 2 starting by the end of July sometime. I do have a full-time office specialist starting at the end of the month, and I do have interviews on the 20th. I did have 3 resign, but I have kind of 3 coming on, so kind of broke even there. Contraband, we had Suboxone that was coming in through the mail, so that is it.
You've been busy.
It's not going to slow down.
No, no, it doesn't. It's 24 hours.
I went to one of the detention center meetings at the Association of Counties, and they mentioned that the state reimbursement to the detention centers isn't where it should be. How are we tracking that to making sure that they're paying what they should be to us for arresting, housing their inmates?
We have, in June, we do a report and we submit it. I don't think we get the full. I know a long time ago, years ago, that we did get more funding back. So I don't know how it is returned back full, but they don't do the full amount. They haven't, but we do get reimbursement. It's just not.
That's something I think I would like to look into, to make sure we get 100% of
Right.
what is due.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that, Julianne?
No, I really don't. The only thing I see is the actual quarterly checks that come through. I don't know how if there's a formula that they use to determine the dollar amount. I don't know what that is. And Nina, I don't know, do you actually bill them for that, or is it just a distribution that comes?
We send them a report of all the ones that are housed, whether they're probationary or parolees, and then I don't know what formula they use. They ask for certain information, we provide it based on our reports, and then the funding is allocated depending. I think the bigger counties probably get more things like that. So, I mean, I don't see their side of it. I just give the numbers that are essential for them to reimburse.
I don't know how to figure it out, I've been asking this question because we fill it out, and money comes over here, and you report the money, and there's so many hands in the pot, there's no verification.
It's,
When we receive the checks, we don't receive any sort of backup documentation telling us, that they are distributing a certain dollar amount based upon the number of inmates, and also the state is always at least 1 quarter behind in sending those distributions. They're always at least, I think the last one we received was through March.
Do you have a tracking system that'll tell you how much, say you have an inmate here for X amount of days, what it costs?
Yes.
Send them a bill for that. Plain and simple, it's what it cost us.
Yeah.
My understanding, any state police arrest should be billed.
I do a report, and it shows how many inmates this, under the state, and then how many days are in the facility. So I think it's with my county manager's report, it's attached to that. So,
I know Grace Phillips with New Mexico Counties is working on getting some of the transportation costs reimbursed to the sheriff's office for,
Yeah, with transport, we haven't had any reimbursement for years and years and years.
you know, they're working on that to try to
Statute
change
says
that.
If there's money allocated, they'll reimburse.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have to take care of that, they don't allocate any money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just last year, Otero County taxpayers paid $46,000 to move prisoners around the state, going to courts and all that stuff.
Mhm.
So, yeah, with the Sheriff's Association, working with Grace Phillips, we're putting numbers together right now. We've almost got every county reporting. And there's a lot of money that counties are paid for transports. That's just money gone. They won't reimburse it, so that's why we're pushing to get them to allocate some money in that fund to reimburse.
Another unfunded mandate from the state.
Right?
It is. I mean, it's exactly what it is. Okay. Anyone have anything else? No? Oh,
I have a question for her.
yes, ma'am.
How is Anthony Torres's program working?
he comes in every third week of the month,
Okay,
every Friday. I mean, every third Friday.
okay,
He's been doing well.
okay.
Yeah. I saw him at the city commission meeting the other night. He's doing good work. Okay, thanks, Nina.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, on the consent agenda, we are going to pull item 19 for discussion. Is that the only one you wanted? Okay. Do you want to discuss it first or at the end, since you want to pull it?
And that's my reason.
Okay. All right, get ready, because this is a lot of reading. All right. Number 1, request approval of accounts payable bills BL 47, 48, 49, and 50, and 51. Number 2, request approval of healthcare assistant claims and disposition claims for July 2023. Number 3, request approval of the June 8th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. Number 4, request approval of June 22nd, 2023 special meeting minutes. Number 5, request approval of June 26th, 2023 special meeting minutes. Had a lot of special meetings. Number 6, request approval of resolution number 7-13-23/111-66, final budget adjustments for fiscal year 2023. Number 7, request approval of resolution number 7-13-23/112-02, school bus funding for fiscal year 2024. Road Fund Program L2-00615, total project $160,000. Number 8, request approval of resolution number 7-13-23/112-03, Road Fund Program L2-00592 in the amount of $221,333. Number 9, request approval of resolution number 7-13-23/112-04, Road Fund Program L2-00610, County Arterial Program in the amount of $396,863. Number 10, request approval to award ITB 23-021 Chin's Roof Replacement and Renovation Phase 3 rebid contract to White Sands Construction in the amount of $746,000 for bid lot 1 and bid lot 3, excluding New Mexico gross receipts tax, which I don't think we should have to pay. Number 11, request approval of grant agreement between Otero County and the Department of Finance in the amount of $30,000 for grant management. Number 12, request approval to ratify grant agreement amendment number 1 between Otero County and the State of New Mexico Department of Finance and Administration, Local Government Division for the Community Development Council, Chin's Phase 3, in the amount of $728,346.16. Number 13, request approval to accept fiscal year 24 E911 grant for TBRDA in the amount of $619,786. Number 14, request approval of agreement with ASA Architects for architectural services for the new 12th Judicial District Court building. Number 15, request approval for the county to submit the Title I, II, and III election forms to the U.S. Forest Service. Number 16, request approval of a memorandum of understanding between Otero County and New Mexico Department of Public Safety, Sunland Park Police Department, and Hatch Police Department for the purpose of providing enhanced law enforcement services. Number 17, request approval of the negotiated union contract between Otero County and New Mexico Coalition of Public Safety Officers. Number 18, request approval of an amendment with South Central Mountain Resource Conservation and Development Council for Firewise Communities Program utilizing SRS Title III funds. Number 20, Mobile Crisis Response Third Quarter Report, July 2023. Number 21, request approval of the proposed changes to the DWI Council bylaws. Whew. Holy cow. Okay. I make a motion to approve these agenda items. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 19, we're pulling for discussion. Do we need Matt back in here? Okay, this is to request approval for fire departments to apply for fiscal year 24 New Mexico State Protection Grant Funds.
Apparatus is what it says in there. What is an apparatus?
I'm sorry, I thought I pulled that out. So they can apply for buildings, they can apply for various different fire trucks, they can apply for water system improvements, they can apply for PPE. Most of the departments right now that I've been talking to, I have two stations that are requesting facility improvements to add on to their stations so that they can get their vehicles inside. And another two departments are looking at doing a water systems improvement. I haven't heard anyone asking for a fire truck yet.
Which buildings are asking for an extension?
Dunnigan Fire Station and High Rolls.
Is it because they have a new truck that's too big for their facility, or why are they not being able to get their vehicles inside?
The one at High Rolls has always been a lean-to, and they have an older tender that they park outside. And in the wintertime, they drain it, so basically they lose a truck. Dunnigan's is their water truck that they've had for years, needs to be inside. And then their original fire station, they have apparatus in that, and it's actually falling apart and needs to be repaired. It's beyond repair. It needs to have the new facility garage put up for it, and then they can tear down the other one.
So it says these projects may be the purchase of a new apparatus, personal protective equipment, or communication equipment. So this is the scope of everything that you said, not just what's written here?
Correct.
And-
They've added the facilities and the water projects this year.
And because we're approving it with what you say that the grants are going to be applied for, 6 months from now, are they going to be asking for more funding for a building extension because it's not worded in here like that?
I hope they're not asking for more funding. The purpose is to go out and get the monies from the State Fire Marshal's office through their grant process, because it's competitive, but we're not competing against the entire United States. We're competing against other departments in New Mexico.
When is the last time an inventory's been done of all the fire departments?
They do inventories every year.
Okay, so like how many cans of starter fluid? And so we can keep track of anything that might be going out the back door? Is there anything done like that? I'm just saying.
Starter fluid would not be one of those trackable items. But inventories are done every year through, I believe Kathy is doing the inventories now?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Kathy does the inventories for the fire departments now, correct? Or is it their inventory sheet that we have to fill out every year?
Oh, yeah, for the fixed assets, yes. That is sent out, usually purchasing will put together the report packets, send it out to basically all the different departments for them to take a look at their inventory and verify that they have those items. They have to sign off on it. It is an audit item. And if they have, oh gosh, it's been over 10 years, 10, 12 years ago, they changed the threshold for the dollar amount for fixed assets. Used to be $1,000, now it's up to $5,000. And so we've got a lot of items on our fixed asset list that are, it's less, if the item is worth less than $5,000, we can literally just take it off the list. We can retire it unless a department decides that they really want to track it for some reason. We take it off. So, yeah, they have to get those back to us so that we can have those in hand. The auditors will ask to see those.
Okay, I just don't know how to address the, missing items. It seems like we're doing repetitive purchases without the amount of calls that should be using those products to be purchasing them every month, every other month or something. So I just want to put that on the radar and figure out how we can stop the loss. Okay, but no more apparatuses. It's gonna drive me bonkers next time I see that.
Okay. More?
No.
No, anything? All right, so I make a motion to request approval for fire departments to apply for fiscal year 2024 New Mexico State Fire Protection Grant Funds. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Oh, he's gone. I was gonna say thank you, man. Sorry, gone. Out of here. Okay, so now we have our scheduled citizen communication, Lance Layer and John Bailey with the Alliance for Regional Military Support.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lance Lair. This is John Bailey. We're from the Alliance for Regional Military Support, and we support you, and we'll be asking for you to continue to support us at the end of this. This is basically the final update, or support update to the county prior to a new contract, which we'll request through you here. We just finished doing that process with the city. Excellent. Do I have a clicker? Next slide. Who's the clicker? Okay. So generally during our updates, we'll put recent accomplishments. I hate reading slides to people because I know people can read. I would just highlight that we do go to the Air Force Association conference on behalf of the contract that you have with us. We're currently looking at that and how we're going to work it for this year. I'm sure you're aware of the MILCOM projects that were in the NDAA. Everybody's very happy about that. And we will continue to advocate for those things which you tell us you want, that being the most important thing from you. If you renew with us, telling us, either having your staff individual that's responsible for it tell us, what do you want us to do? And that's how we can then plan to hit the building in DC and hit the different conferences. William Beaumont and Medical Center of America, and we'll also throw in their Joint Modernization Command into bullet 3 and 4. So STEM and STEAM is important, and we all know that. We all need to get the STEM and STEAM people involved. So we've worked with William Beaumont. We're trying to get with them to get doctors. We've had success down in the region in El Paso, getting doctors in uniform to teach classes in school. And specifically, we've done them in what the heck kind of schools are those? Medical magnet schools. Couldn't think of the word. Very healthy, and it actually, it draws a lot of attention to STEM and STEAM, and also with the Joint Modernization Command, getting a robot out there, showing them the workings of the robot, getting kids, high school specifically, and we've gone to middle school kids, try and get them interested in STEM and STEAM programs so that they grow up, get the education, and end up, supporting the county, right?
Time out for a minute. I know what STEM is. What's STEAM?
It's
STEAM adds the arts to it.
Arts.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
it's the same as STEM, we just add arts.
Okay.
That-
I was
they-
wondering
they
what
felt
it
left-
was.
I didn't-
They felt left out because,
Yeah, they did. They fell left out, so we put arts in there. But there are some of the arts that kind of apply, right?
Okay.
And so we added that. The last bullet there in the Defense Health Agency, ultimately, if you read through how the Defense Health Agency has changed military medicine, they've built regions, right? And they've built areas. And at some point in time, the regional commander or the regional director is the commander of William Beaumont Army Medical Center. And Holloman will then fall under that. And that's probably coming pretty soon. So we want to make sure that we're preparing the base for that and that they understand the differences that DHA brings from that very siloed, old school method of, the Air Force runs they have their Surgeon General, the Army is the Surgeon General. It's a lot different. It has not been as bad as it's made out to be, but it has created some serious hiccups in the military medical system.
just real quick to add to that too, one of the things that we are working with William Beaumont Medical Center down there, along with the clinic they have up here, is partnership with the local hospitals. So that if there are situations where the hospital can't handle treatment of some sort, maybe there's somebody within the clinic or the hospital that can do it, and vice versa, and being able to share some resources on that. So we're working with Beaumont to make sure that that's branched out to all of our regions here, especially in the Holloman with the Alamogordo, Otero County area, to make sure that we have coverage on that.
And in addition to that, I'll even add that we've had some luck. I'm sure you're all aware that there are very challenging times getting folks to go into the services, right? We've been able down there to open up, at least William Beaumont, some of the more obscure clinics that we need to get those new recruits into to get qualified. They've actually agreed, and we have a memorandum of agreement with them that allows them, especially eye and some other things, that helps them get those kids qualified so that they can jump in and not be held up and then forget about it and not want to do it anymore.
And that agreement is with Beaumont and the regional, whatever falls under their region.
Right.
So that includes the clinic up here at Holloman, a clinic at White Sands Missile Range that are underneath that. So we have kids in the Otero County area that are looking to enlist. We can use that MOU to get their medical process done much quicker than waiting for them. The issue's been we've been waiting on the commercial or the civilian doctors and civilian areas to go that route. And this gives us the ability to send them directly through the DoD doctors and make those type of things happen. So that's expanded to the entire region is what we've managed to do with that.
So that's for their general medical evaluation before they can go in?
That is correct, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner, it's a new system that's kind of out there, and it reaches back. It used to kind of be, when you enlisted, it was kind of, are you well? Yes. Okay, we'll do this quick exam and you're in. Well, now they can reach back to their childhood, and so it's very hard to get in without some sort of waiver being provided by the system, because they can look back and see, some of the disqualifying things. So ADHD, right? So you have to get a waiver for that. Well, if they had ADHD when they were 5 and grew out of it, why do we need a waiver? But that's the way the system's set up, and so we have to continue to be able to attack that to bump up our services, if that makes sense. Next slide, please, unless there's questions on this one. We'll be quick. Okay, so encroachment, always a worry. We have no issues. As long as we continue to monitor the situation the way it is right now, we're okay with encroachment. We think, based on, what's coming out of the building in DC and based on what we're getting from our assistants in DC, I guess you'd call it, we're not seeing an issue with encroachment right now, although we did participate in that. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it's just like everything else, it's just like the BRAC word. BRAC is a bad word, right? But we don't see, at least our Cypress International does not see any taste, because that hurts congressional districts, right? We all know how painful that is to congressional districts. So we don't see the ability or the problem of a BRAC coming up anytime soon because it's just too contentious. So it'll be punted down the road till later on. But if we don't continue to keep our eyes on this and continue to be forceful, it's something that could happen, right? And it doesn't matter where. If it's down in El Paso or White Sands or here, it's going to affect everybody, and that's not a good thing. So we're working. So out at New Mexico State, there's a great program. We wanted to talk about this great program that's actually working, and it's a small scale now, 8 or 10, John, I think at a time, cleared before they leave college. So instead of waiting 18 months to go to work for the military or go to work as a civilian at White Sands or Holloman, they're ready when they come out. We're losing a lot of those young engineers to the Lockheeds and the Boeings and the BAEs and the SAICs because they're not cleared, and it takes us too long to clear them. So we're making progress on getting a cleared stream of folks that we can.
What do you mean by cleared?
So security clearances are hard, and we have a contact there, and he's working diligently, and now has a class that
So
will literally.
they run all that before you get them?
Before you get them. And that's huge for like White Sands. So White Sands right now, 50% at retirement age. I mean, if everybody just decided to drop their paperwork, there's a problem, right? So that's a long-term project that we've been keeping our eyes on. We owe you new talking point cards, which basically gives you the basis of what we do. It gives you your basic knowledge about how much money is spent on defense, how much personnel issues, what the base brings, and how much the state counts on that. We'll get that to you within the next 30 days. We wait until we have all of the data from census, from the state and from federal before we do that, so that our numbers are correct. So we're not giving you data that is incorrect. That would be bad. We're still working with the assessment. Don't need to worry about that. Manning and how can increase troop strength. One of our original missions is, increase strength, increase basically missions, right? So missions and people. There are a couple small ones going on right now, and mainly that's down in El Paso at Fort Bliss. A small amount of there's a new plane out there that requires particular training that has to do with the military intelligence brigade that's down there. So there's a small input of people, pilots and so forth. We continue to work that regularly. Obviously, one of your goals is to bring more people, bring more missions. We haven't forgot about it. We're working it. And we continue to work every week, every day with our elected officials, all of them, including out of state. We work with Oklahoma because they have the missile, the artillery training up there. We work with Congressman Cole. We work with our senators. We work with our across the aisle. It's nonpartisan, but it's to get things into the NDAA. And we can show a pattern over the last 3 years of getting what we need, even if it takes a long time. And with that, I'll turn it over to John with the way forward.
Next slide, please. So as Lance said, one of the things that we're continuously working on is improvements for the military region. Really working with each one of the local areas here. So White Sands, Holloman, and Fort Bliss. A lot of people ask the question with, well, Holloman's right here. Why am I concerned about White Sands or Fort Bliss? Well, White Sands, people probably live in Alamogordo, Otero County that work there. Fort Bliss, there are actually soldiers now that live in Otero County that work in Fort Bliss that are locating up there because of the housing that's affordable there. But that together, all three installations, the largest military training area in the nation. And if one of those was to go away, it's going to affect every one of us and the things that happen. So it's really important that we really focus on improvements of our military capacity here in the region with those type of things. Sustain and improve the defense workforce, as Lance had talked about. That's really our focus with New Mexico State, and as we get it taken care of with that, we'll look at bringing it to some of the smaller community colleges and some of the locations that are out there. It's really how do we get a secure cleared project into the school so that when the students come in, they can start working that clearance. We can't just get clearances because we really would like to have them. There has to be a reason for that, and that's what we've managed to do with New Mexico State through relationship with White Sands, is be able to get a cleared project into the college and allow us to put students on it that allow us to move that forward from there. So those are the things that we're definitely working on. The big thing that's always there that we're always focused on is one of the big indicators for moving military folks to a region is affordable off-post housing. And that's something that we track on a regular basis, is where are we at with their basic allowance for housing? Does it match? Is there single family? Is there multifamily housing? How far away from the installation are we looking at? I mean, that is one of the reasons that Otero County down in Chaparral is growing the way it is because it is one of the closest locations for our soldiers to find housing within the BAH rate. So they're moving in that direction with it. So it's something that we manage a lot. We look at, we talk to, we find out what the issues are from the Pentagon. We spend a lot of time with our consultants and ourselves in the Pentagon asking the question, why aren't you moving somebody to Holloman? Why are we not moving here? And trying to find out what the answer is so that we can come back and say, look, we're not moving people to Holloman because we don't have apartments. We don't have this type of spousal employment. Those are the things that we try to get out of the Pentagon to get the inside information with it. Excuse me, as Lance said, we work very hard to prevent encroachment. We can't afford the largest military training area to be encroached by different things. So it's something we keep an eye on and work with them. We engage with all of our political leaders. We spend as much time talking to our New Mexico delegation here, both Senate and congressional, as we do talking to the ones in Texas. Because we've got to convince and make sure that everybody understands that this isn't a fight for how do we get more stuff in New Mexico or how do we get more stuff in Texas. It's a fight, how do we take care of the region? Because if I fight against Holloman getting something because I want it to go someplace else, that's damaging for the region. So really spending the time with the congressional folks and the NDAA, really getting them to understand that if I prove something for Holloman, that's good for all of us. So, people have to fly into El Paso to get up here to Holloman. So that's a big win for us. So why are we fighting what's going on in Holloman or what's going on in White Sands? So we've actually had really good luck, and we've had our congressional staffers actually on phone calls together to talk about regional issues that we need to focus on. So we kind of pulled them all together and get that regional focus with it. One of the things that we would ask, strongly ask, beg, if you will, is that Otero County assign us a person that they're going to have work directly with the arms group. One of the things that we want to make sure that as we look through things that we've done all this kind of because we knew it needed to have happen, but what we don't actually have a great feel for is exactly what is Otero County's needs and what would they like to see with regards to the partnership with Fort Bliss, White Sands, and Holloman. I mean, Otero County is a unique place is that you have land from every one of those installations in Otero County. So it isn't, you're not just I've got Holloman or I've got that. You've got everybody in here. So what we need is that person that we can sit down and talk to, or we can have conference calls or whatever we need to do that says, here are the priorities for the county. And then how do we take those priorities and make sure that we convert them into, how does the military help support some of those priorities? And or are our priorities supporting the military? If we got a priority that we go, boy, if we do it that way, that's going to damage the relationship here, we may come back and say, we'd really suggest you think about something else. So our request is for the new contract that we go through is that you actually assign a person that will attend our monthly meetings, that'll have monthly meetings or even weekly meetings for a while with Lance and myself to make sure that we have the right information for what Otero County needs going forward. And
If I could interrupt just for a second, so we're gonna, with Alamogordo, with the city, it's gonna be the city manager, but not because she's the interim city manager, because she's the economic development director. And understands that part of what we're trying to get at. Thanks.
Great. So, and then we're also working to advocate for defense contractors in the region. One of the things that we do is we attend, as Lance said, the Air Force Association meeting, as well as the Association of United States Army meeting. And why those are important and what we need to really understand is every one of those meetings has the major contractors that support that branch. So the Air Force folks are there, the Army folks. If there's somebody that we're targeting from an Otero County that we would really like to see more participation in, those are meetings that we can set up both at the AFA and the AUSA conferences to actually have those. We can actually, we'd invite the commissioners and anybody from the county that wanted to attend AUSA with us and have those direct meetings with the contractors there. And if they produce anything DoD-wide, they're either at the AFA conference or the AUSA conference. And it's a great time to have a conversation about what we can provide in Otero County. A lot of our contractors have contracts at Holloman, White Sands, Fort Bliss, and have no representation here. And we're working with them to try to get representation, because what we hear from each one of the installations is one of the biggest benefits would be if somebody had representation here, and when I have an issue, I call, and it takes them 2 days to get out here because they can get on a flight. If I had somebody here that could be down there in 2 hours, wow, that'd be great. So we're pushing that stuff along to the contractors, but it's also, we're pushing it, but to have people from the actual county or city that are attending with us and saying, hey, I'm a commissioner, here's what we're looking for, those are powerful conversations to have with those contractors. So we would encourage you to do that. We'll make sure everybody has the information on that. Next slide, please. And these are our contacts. Everybody has a contact. So bottom line, we're working very hard as a triad to make sure that we take care of all the aspects of Holloman, White Sands, and Fort Bliss together. One of the things that I would ask is listening to it is for the sheriff. Sheriff, is Fort Bliss and White Sands military police involved in those conversations that you're having with agencies? Yeah. Good, because if they weren't, that would be something we'd go back right away and say, hey, you need to reach out to and make sure those type of things are happening, because there has to be that communication going back and forth. So, questions?
One of the biggest complaints that I hear are contractors that work at Holloman Air Force Base trying to hire employees to pass clearance. Is there a way that that can be lightened, where if they committed a crime 30 years ago, that we can forgive them and allow them on the base? Is that because we charge more for sitting at the gate for an hour to allow access? We charge, and everything is just more expensive to Holloman Air Force Base because of it.
Yeah. So Commissioner, yes, we'd love to say there's a way we can work around that. I mean, it's really, if you have a felony that's 30 years old and they decide not to give you clearance, those things can be appealed, and there's appellate process with it. On the other side of that, the easier process is between Holloman Air Force Base and Fort Bliss alone. We have over 1,000 military members that get out of the service every month. And 90% of those get out with that security clearance. So what we would like to do, and one of the things we're really advocating for, is pushing those contractors that are hiring to really look at working with us to go through the transition program or the Soldier for Life program and start hiring these military members that are leaving Holloman. The issue we have in this region is, in talking to that whole transition program, in the whole region, so Las Cruces, Alamogordo, and El Paso, we keep less than 16% of the people that get out in our area here. So we've got a drain of 84% of the people that get out in a month get out of the region because we don't have jobs, because we don't actively pursue them. And the argument is, we've got jobs. We've got jobs that require their skills. We just don't actively pursue it. So, Commissioner, if there's somebody that that's looking to hire, those are the people that we really want to talk to, because we can engage them with the transition assistance program and have them talking to these young airmen or even senior airmen that are getting out with their clearance, and then they don't sit at the gate with that. That's a complaint that we have with everybody who is a contractor. Has that exact same complaint. I mean, that security clearance piece of paper that you get is worth gold, because it is an issue, and the government, they sometimes get silly with what they don't allow on and what they do. I mean, you have a 20-year-old DUI, and they may say, "Oh, we're not sure we're going to let you out." It's like, my God, they haven't had anything in 20 years. Let's be realistic with it. So there's a lot of us in the contracting industry who are using a lot of our professional organizations to push and to advocate for, let's be realistic with it. If I've got a DUI last month, probably not going to work. If I got a DUI when I was 16 years old and I'm 58 now and I haven't had anything problem, it's probably not going to be a problem going forward. So let's move that thing. So we're very aware of that, and from an arms standpoint and from a contracting standpoint, we're pushing really hard for DOD and CBP and the others that require those clearances to, let's get real, let's get realistic with it. If you think there's anybody sitting out here that has absolutely nothing ever shown up at all on there, there's probably 10 of them, and they probably already have jobs. The rest of us have probably lived a real life and probably screwed up somewhere along the lines, and you're going to find out about it, and that's going to cost me. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Part of the reason is it's OPM, right? So OPM is in their own little world. Every agency is in their own little world. So when you go on post, it depends on when you go on the base, right? You show your ID card, and it does a quick check of the top 10 agencies. Those are basically all felonies. So every felony is going to show up. So you're going to get turned away if not. But that's something we have to attack OPM with, and that is probably the hardest nut to crack in the government.
But we've got the relationships with professional organizations like the Contractors Association and the Native American Contracting Association and 5 or 6 other different associations. That's number one on every one of them. So we're pounding Congress pretty hard to let's get realistic with OPM and in the Office of Personnel Management, and get real on what that really means. So thank you for the concern. I'd love to talk to your contractors that are looking to hire, that are having issues, because again, we got 1,000 people coming out every month.
There's people out there, not to the people you say, the 30 years ago people. I mean, that is the long-term goal. The short-term goal is that pipeline of veterans. They're here. We just need to get them to stay here.
So Pamela, can we appoint somebody for their contact today, or do we have to run that through an agenda?
I think they're going to put in the contract.
Yeah, it's
so
gonna go
we
in
could
the
do it in there.
contract.
But we could discuss it, and you couldn't formally
Take
appoint
action.
someone, but you could discuss it and throw names out there and give us direction to look into it or add it to the contract.
Okay. So we'll do that bring that to the next meeting
Yes.
after?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's in the contract. It's literally there, because that helps us to know that we have somebody that's going to come and somebody we can pull and not
it's very helpful. It's, in the past, we've had some lack of communication, but I think we've figured it out now. But by putting it in the contract, and it keeps you more involved, and it keeps it more visible to you, what's going on.
And I don't know if you're aware, but the Center of Commerce in Alamogordo is working on getting a new apartment complex here to help with the military. They're active
That would be fabulous. I mean,
progress right now.
those are the type of things that having this contact gets us that information, and where that helps us is obviously everybody's going to know you have it, but what we can start doing is just start socializing that within DOD, saying, hey, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing Holloman's getting another, they're getting another multifamily housing up there, within the BAH, it could be, because those are things that people start to hear and they go, okay, we're talking about putting another unit or a wing in that area. Now they're doing something about it. So that's great information.
That's one of the top ways that the Air Force will evaluate you for future stations.
Right.
Is housing availability, schools, and we have a let data which we can send you so you can look at it and say, this is what helps that driver.
Yeah. But that's good news on the multifamily housing. That's
and
great.
we're excited about it.
That's really good news.
Yep.
That's wonderful. Great. Any other questions?
Good? No?
I'm
We're
good.
good.
All right. Thank you very
so
much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time, Commissioners.
Okay, do we have a list? Okay, Marcia Sturman?
Good morning.
Good morning.
A couple of months ago, there was much ado about the changeover at the Forest Service, and I noticed none of those are here.
I haven't heard from them this week. They came to were you at the last meeting?
No, I was out of
They came
town.
the last meeting.
Okay. but-
Right now, the person that has replaced Travis Mosley, Erica Luna, she's just interim, and I don't think they've named a permanent. Have you heard anything?
Erica called me this morning,
Okay.
and wanted me to convey apologies to the commission that her and Marjorie, neither of them could attend today because they
Okay.
had a other commitment that they had to go to.
Okay.
She said they had just finished the first round of interviews for the incoming person, and her last week is, her travel day is August 24th or 25th. And they hope to have the person in the seat by then because they want to do a turnover and have Erica take the new person around and introduce them to the community and things like that.
Okay. Erica has really been good about keeping it much better than we had before. So-
Well, that's what my concern was. The other thing is that with this heat, they've got to clean up the forest. This is just a tinderbox waiting to go up in flames. And,
Yes, and I'm still waiting for a monsoon to hit.
yeah,
It's supposed to come
we're
in
waiting
July.
for that. And then last night, there was all that lightning like crazy. And it's a concern for the people that live up in the mountains.
Right.
They've been giving us notices, they're implementing several plans, some prescribed burns, small ones, controllable ones, that they've been working on throughout for the last couple of weeks, actually.
They are doing some today
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
of Cloudcroft.
Yeah, and they've been good about notifying us about those too, so we can kind of, I send out emails to the people that I know that can get the word out, so if they see smoke, they don't, panic and think it's fire. So.
And that's all good.
Yeah.
That's all good. The forests have got to get cleaned up. And then I wanted to reiterate about the referendum project. It's still ongoing, and they want the final signatures in by the 31st of October, because in order to, every county has a certain number, and signatures have to be turned in, and Otero County needed 4,422 in order to fulfill our obligation as far as Otero County goes. So that's still ongoing if anyone is interested about the 6 bills that we're objecting to. And so that's still ongoing, so I wanted to bring that up. And lastly, I wanted to know what kind of communication is going on with the ranchers, with the Forest Service.
We are still we meet with them fairly often. Matter of fact, when is it, the first week of August?
You asked about the Fish and Wildlife meeting?
Yes.
That is tentatively going to take place the 3rd week of August.
Okay.
But the current forest supervisor and the deputy forest supervisor are actively engaged in communication with all of the allotment owners, but they are working hand in hand with the Gosses to set up or facilitate this meeting with the Fish and Wildlife Service and the Game and Fish Department. It'll be the 3rd week in August.
Well, that all sounds good, but they never get anything accomplished for the ranchers. I mean, all they do is have meetings and talk, or they'll cancel them and then do them later. That's not doing the ranchers any good. I just want to go on record as saying they've got to do something and stop talking about it and get something done.
Marcia, one thing I'll just add to that real quick is they kept the Gosses on their deal with the communication, and they are helping him put together the meetings. So the Gosses are very involved in everything that they are doing. So.
And they're also taking public comment right now, I think on 2 of the issues. One is another endangered species that they're addressing, and the other one is about the land grab. So we need people like you to make sure you submit your comments on that. On the rule changes.
My comments are always pro-rancher. They feed us.
That's right.
And also the Firewise program, Marcia, if you see properties up there, that Firewise program works pretty well funding private property owners to clean up their properties.
Barbara Coble?
I was hoping that's about 3rd or 4th.
There's only 3.
Commissioners, Barbara Coble, here with my husband and a couple of other La Luz residents. And we were hoping more would be here, but what happened in La Luz last Thursday did give a lot of the residents who work for a living an opportunity. So we do plan on trying to get on the agenda so we can get all of them here. And this is concerning the La Luz Convenience Center, just so everybody's on the same page, and Gravel Pit Road, which is the entrance in La Luz to go to the Convenience Center. Bruce and I have lived on Gravel Pit Road for almost 20 years, different locations, but on that road. And Thursday morning, I was headed out to the office, and all of us know the Convenience Center is closed on Thursdays in La Luz, but there are some people who tend to forget it's Thursday, and they head down there, and rather than take their garbage back home with them, they decide to pull off the side of the road and dump it. And so last Thursday, we must have had 10 to 15 bags of garbage that was just dumped out of a truck. It's like they had a dump trailer. And if you're trying to keep your place nice and you see that, it's really disheartening because you work so hard to make sure that the property you own looks nice because you're trying to sell it or whatever. And I first want to thank Gerald because Bruce called him pretty quickly, and Gerald had that garbage picked up within 24 hours, before 24 hours. So that was nice because we have dogs running loose, we have coyotes, and the thought of that garbage sitting for longer than a day or so and something tearing into it and then spreading the garbage everywhere is also not something that you look forward to seeing when you're driving home or leaving from home. And we've had several commissioners. I invited Tommy Harrell here because he was a former commissioner. Wayne is here. This has been an ongoing issue in La Luz, and I don't understand why after 20-something years we can't get something done. I know by someone telling me that the Lavelle Road Convenience Center is open 7 days a week. So I'm not sure I understand why La Luz Convenience Center can't be open 7 days a week. So that's one of our questions. And when we first moved onto Gravel Pit Road, when we sold and moved and built on Gravel Pit Road, I remember vividly seeing orange-dressed prisoners picking up garbage from the convenience center all the way to the end of the road. So we don't understand why that's no longer an option. There's people who are incarcerated who might like a day out in the sun. You know, I would if I were incarcerated. Might want to be willing to volunteer part of their community service to doing that. I don't know. I don't know what the guidelines are for that. When you enter Gravel Pit Road from La Luz, there's a sign that says it La Luz Convenience Center, but it doesn't give you hours. It doesn't tell you what days and what hours. Have already been 3 minutes?
Yeah, it goes fast.
Oh, dang. Okay. So these are just, ideas that we had that Bruce and I have been talking about, and I don't know if you've been through La Luz, but Rodney Eaton even spent his own money to put up signs that said, warning, don't litter, cover your garbage and stuff.
Nina, did you want to speak to her about the prisoners? Because I know you're so short-staffed that before that was an issue. She didn't have anybody to go out with them because they have to be supervised.
Right.
And she's so short-staffed right now.
So
She can't
that's-
keep them in the jail. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
already at dangerous levels
Right.
there. We've had to send out some of our inmates
Right.
because we don't have the staff.
Well, and this is years ago, but when I was in high school, the high school students were given an opportunity who came from families that didn't have a lot. You were given an opportunity to go to work half a day if you had the credits to get out of school. And so I remember being a part of the CC program, and I don't understand why we can't do that with locals to give kids something to earn a little bit of money, and we can say, okay, this is what you're going to do, and you're going to earn something. I mean, we all have to earn our keep. So that was another idea, and Bruce is going to get upset with me because I didn't cover everything that he wanted to.
What we need to do, Barbara, is get you on the agenda
Okay,
where we can really answer all these questions.
Okay.
This 3-minute deal, we're just
It's
supposed to
not
list
long
to
enough.
you and
Yes,
just kind of
exactly.
get it on the
I
deal.
thought I could do it in
That's
3
why I
minutes.
asked if we could have Ralph here next month.
Yeah,
He's a big factor in that. The dumpster, like
that was a
Commissioner
question,
Mark
that was
was
one of
talking
our
about.
suggestions too.
So,
And we have the fire station at the entrance to that road, so that would be a good location for it with the fence around it, and it'd be opened up on Thursdays, so people find out, oh, I forgot, and they go to that dumpster and dump it.
so
Please email all the questions and suggestions that you have to the commissioners and myself
Okay.
and Pamela.
Okay.
And that way we can address, we can
Okay.
look into them ahead of time and maybe have answers, not just a
Okay.
discussion next meeting,
Exactly.
but maybe we can have answers on what we can do or why something's a certain way.
Good, okay. And can we, is the agenda already decided for next month?
No.
No, so I can go ahead and fill out that at the front and do that for next month? Okay. All right, sounds good.
I met
Thank
with
you.
the Two Roses Schools last month, and they have a great internship program with the state of New Mexico, and I've already expressed the need of interns. We're just working out the details, work comp and stuff like that. And then hopefully we'll be able to get the interns apply to answer the phones here, or whatever departments they want to. So.
Yeah, and one of the questions I had, if I can just ask this question, when the garbage was picked up, I don't know who Gerald called to pick it up, he may have told Bruce, but do they do an investigation? I mean, the garbage smelled horrible, so I wouldn't want to rip into them either, but,
what they told me, because I asked that question, did you go through it? They said it was loaded with a lot of diapers and some other stuff that was very gross. So
Very
they just
gross.
took it to the to the landfill.
I thought it was something dead, honestly.
Yeah. So,
It smelled so bad.
yeah,
Okay, well, thank you for that, and we will apply for the agenda next month.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Gwenna? Good morning. It is so hot in here.
My name is
But me,
Gwenna Reese. I've been around a long time. Years ago, I wrote a letter, I mean, this has been many years, to the newspaper. The newspaper would not print it because they said it was too rough, too whatever. It contains the forest, and that was something that I worked on. So I have brought this letter. I read it one time. I got permission to read it on the radio from Marcia. But it is a strong letter, I admit that, but not so strong that people could not take heed for it. And since the Forest Service is still in dire need of something, I have brought this letter and I am asking permission to read it.
Can you do it in 3 minutes?
Okay. It starts out as while the forest burns. And it does have some names of people that were long ago in charge. In answering to Mr. Waltering's letter, a retired Forest Service employee, really, Lou, were you the head honcho up there? When you had your meeting as to how you were going to limit the driving in the forest by the public, and I stood up and asked, why worry about the driving when the forest is dying and in danger of being destroyed by fire? Jackie Buchanan tried to shut me up. I tried several times to bring attention that something needed to be done, to no avail. I was convinced that the moss, forget the scientific name, hanging in the trees was an indicator that the forest was dying. But at the time, you wanted to jump on the bandwagon that the looper caterpillar was causing the problem, when in fact it was obvious that the mismanagement of the forest was a problem, and your ability to stand up to the spotted owl advocates and tell them to get the hell out of the forest, which was in danger of being destroyed. I even went to the extent of getting your permission to go and get samples of the moss and take to the extension office to have them tested to see if there was something that could cause the forest to die. Sorry to say, they came back negative. And it was still an indicator when the moss started growing up in a section, the forest started to die. The real reason for that, the forest was overgrown and needed to be thinned. The old trees needed to be cut, and overall management was your job, but you did nothing but wait for your retirement and have someone else take over the job. I will say that when Mrs. Buchanan took over, she started a thinning operation to get rid of some of the dead trees. But where is Mrs. Buchanan now? She's somewhere in Wyoming. Is this a coincidence, or did she really want to go? I applaud the county for finally standing up and taking steps to do something about the forest. It has taken too long, and it is obvious that it is time someone stepped up. Just maybe, with Mr. Pierce's help and the county finally taking an interest, something will get done. Your statement that the forest belongs to all Americans, well, where are they now? That Alamos, Honda, Weed, Mayhill, and other places are burning. So now you're trying to stand up for what? Cooperation with the inept organization trying to set up feel-good programs for the children. Give me a break. If the forest continues in the way it is going, there will be nothing for the children to see. No streams to play in and no trees to climb. Are they able to climb those trees now that the forest is shut down due to fire danger and none of the Americans that you are so fond of standing up for are able to use the forest? I had great hope that once you retired, you would try to do something as a civilian, bring attention to the fact of the devastation of the forest needs to be addressed in a sane way, but unfortunately you are as big a tree hugger as the rest of the so-called forest guardians. So Mr. Waltering, continue to stick your head in the sand and play your fiddle while the forest burns.
Thank you, Gwenna.
And has the forest changed any?
Not really. Probably gotten worse. Okay, we're going to move on to new business, and we moved Nina up to number from 28 to 1st, so that you wouldn't have to sit here all the rest of the day. This is to request approval of the expenditure of $19,195.75 to participate in the New Mexico Correction Officers Hero Campaign.
Yes, ma'am. This is Correctional Service Director Nina Sisler. And so 14 counties so far in New Mexico are participating in this. This is to change, I guess, the culture of our perception of what a detention officer or correction officer does, and how it can be a career, and kind of show them as a person instead of the uniform, and how they assist or listen to or interact with detainees that are incarcerated in the facility. This would, actually, it starts next week, so I had last minute, this was sent to me last minute, and so everything, there were some other counties are in my same position, so they will be filming, and they'll actually use officers from our facility, and they have actors that will be wearing uniforms, and how detention or / corrections officers actually interact with detainees within the facility to show promote a positive, how this is a career and how we are a part of the public service out there. And some of the stigma that what the detention officer, correction officer does or doesn't do. This will actually stream live on local channels and YouTube or I guess the Hulu or whatever, everybody streams, right? And so, or radio or whatever type of advertising, and they assist and they do all the photo shoots and things like that for Otero County. There's 14 other counties that are participating in this as well.
So is this basically a recruiting? Is this a recruiting campaign?
This is
plan?
he said indirectly, yes, not directly. Directly is to change the perception of the role of detention officers and corrections officers in public safety or law enforcement realm, to change the image and how we partake in that whole community, and basically to show, that they are part of this, the whole role of law enforcement.
So I see these billboards. Is there going to be a billboard with these photos and stuff in our area here?
Yes. Whatever it is, they're going to do whatever suits Otero County, the populace. They've done a lot of statistics and data. I did tell him certain things that would probably work in our local area, radio and this. So they will work with me, or whether Pamela or whomever with the county wants to be involved, of how this will work for Otero County. And I do think it's an opportunity for the detention center to, get out there and show our officers. They're going to be, if it's approved, will actually be filmed in these, they have a script that they will abide by, and a media company is doing the actual shooting. And they will do still shots and other types of to promote each facility in each area. I know there's other counties doing it as well.
I don't think we're included on the billboards. According to this breakdown, that's just Sandoval and Bernalillo.
Oh.
A pretty big chunk, if you add. See, that's Bernalillo and Sandoval, they're getting billboards, and they're the only ones.
Not the big, I think it's a smaller advertisement that we were looking at, not the big ones. Yeah.
So how long is this promotional deal going to last? Is it just they do it, it's done, it's over? Is it going to go on?
He said he's going to, I talked to him yesterday because they're still working out some of the logistics of some things to get more information, like times and how long it's going to run and things like that. So some of it's not actually in writing. So I am working with him, and I know he's trying to get an email out to some other counties that do have questions as well. So.
This says it will launch in September, run for 3 months.
Okay.
Is what they're proposing. All 14 counties paying $20,000?
No, some of them are paying a lot more.
A lot more.
Bernalillo's paying almost 200,000, so
Thousand, yeah.
170,000. It just depends on what all they provide for you.
Yeah, and I think they did it by population according to him and our area and things like that, how they prorated it, I guess.
So this Anthony, there's supposed to be a tailored proposal coming over, it says in the next week or so. Of course, I've had this for a week. Have you already received that?
I'll have to check my emails. I don't think I have an actual proposal.
Okay, because it's,
I don't know if Pamela.
it's like right here, but the bottom part of that second paragraph. So I didn't know if you had something else.
No, I can get with him. I've been working with him, and he's been asking questions, because if our staff do go up next week, he has to do a background check, because they will actually be filming in a facility. So even though he's already had a few officers from other facilities that had open charges, so they can't attend. So they have to do a background check.
I'm all for getting more help for you out there, but I'm wondering if this money put more towards recruitment would be better spent. I mean, that's, you might know that more than me, but it just seems like if we're going to spend almost $20,000, I'd like for it to really focus on recruitment rather than, and I get what you're saying, you want to promote all law enforcement in a positive way, I get that. But I just wonder if we would be better off to focus more on recruitment expense rather than this.
Well, I know with this company, this media company, it's a script for all the detention facilities will be using the same script. We don't have an option, I don't think. It's not necessary. It's a promotion. It's called the Heroes Campaign, so.
It's kind of generic, basically. It's not going to really highlight Otero County. It's going to be more statewide, just to
Well, our
highlight everyone.
uniforms and our logos and what our people will film will represent Otero County, but it is like a blanket across the board. I do think it does give advertising, because it'll be streaming on local channels and people will see it'll be promoting a positive career, that it can be a career and it can be
Right.
positive.
Is there a way
It does
to-
say that it can be customized some, like for the website aspect of it. It says that you can,
The
like,
code.
set up a link that
So you
would,
click on a link
would-
and it'll take you to Otero.
Yes.
In a recruit, we could set up a specific recruiting page that
Yeah.
said hiring and spells out what our benefits and pay is, stuff like that.
Yeah, they can put on the website a QR code where they, like this, and it'll either go straight to the Otero County website or wherever, or detention website, however we want it to work, so.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely want it to go to Otero,
Yes,
that we can
of course.
snag them if they're interested.
So how much more information do you think's going to be coming?
I can ask him for more. He said he'll provide whatever he needs to provide. I mean, this is shooting next week, the 19th and the 20th.
Right.
So, I mean, it was all short notice as far as, I know he's been pretty busy trying to get all the other facilities and everybody on board with this, so.
So they're only going to shoot in Albuquerque? I mean, they're just going to have the one location?
Yes.
Orby, you got any comment on this?
I had a question. Do you have to, does it have to be approved to participate to send officers to the filming? Like, can we do the filming and then ask more questions and get more info before deciding?
I believe they need a commitment prior, based on prior discussions.
Yeah, that's what I think as well. I do.
There's definitely some positives to it. Detention officer's not the sexiest job, if we're being honest. And this is an attempt to make it flashier and just kind of get it out awareness. Because I am surprised that with what we're offering as far as pay, more people are not applying. And so anything to help get that info out and make it more appealable or dispel misconceptions could be a benefit. And we're gonna talk some more later, but we need people, like,
Yeah.
keeps me up at night.
No, it's bad.
Were you part of law enforcement recruitment hero campaign? They did this, I don't know, what, 2 years ago or something? Was it effective in the hiring process, or? I don't know if Otero County was involved in that or not. I just remember seeing the advertisements and commercials and everything.
We've never been part of it.
And do you think that if we took even 10,000 of this and just spent it all in-house, local, and developed our own here in the county and pushed it really hard, that would be kind of the same messaging?
I think that's possible, but where I think we would have shortcomings is the capabilities as far as media and ability to put together a film or even really good photos that are marketable. We don't have those capabilities in-house. We manage the website ourselves and we can do some things with that, but it's nothing flashy or I think we'd probably get more bang for our buck with this professional company compared to what we could do. We could potentially contract someone to do it, spend the money with a media type company to do something, but we're probably getting a cheaper cost through this process where it's being pooled with all the other counties.
Do you foresee anything that if we were to agree to this commitment now, anything that we need to hold back on and ask questions or wait for them before we don't have much time. If they're gonna, this filming part is a key part of it, to have the local faces in that film, anybody around here to see.
The only questions that I think you would probably want answered is how much leeway and opportunity is there to tailor it specifically for our purposes. There's a little bit in there, like how we can set it up to go to our webpage and we can build a recruiting page, things like that. But it would be nice to know how much more we can do with it. But as far as legal implications or anything like that, I don't see any issues.
And the shooting is next Wednesday, so that's a week from yesterday. So, it's
Yeah.
pretty quick.
My question for Nina would be, as far as staffing, do you have the ability and capability to be able to send people for the filming?
Yes, I have an officer that's willing to go, of course, on her days off, and then the other officer, he found coverage.
Okay.
So I do have 2 line officers that will willing to do it.
You wouldn't need to be in it.
Oh, no.
I'm results driven. I like, we spend this $20,000 and with 5 people hired as a result of it.
Of course, me too.
Right?
I went 10.
And I just don't feel like this is gonna be anything that brings results to us. It'll help everybody else.
I don't know if we could put an advertising deal together for this amount of money.
The kids that at the high school that do the filming of those YouTube videos, they're pretty fantastic. I mean, recruit our kids at the high schools to make something. And that'd probably get more views just because the kids did it.
David, are you familiar with any of this type of recruiting as it work? Nothing, not familiar with any?
Do you have any idea how long they've been doing this? Is this a new campaign, or?
This is a new campaign.
It's brand new, so we
Yes.
don't really, can't get results of past.
They, according to the person that is running this, he did a lot of statistical data, and supposedly the streaming, YouTube, these types of advertising, positive, is what is aiming towards the younger generation. So they did a lot of research, because it's actually MDC, a jail, that actually is doing it.
Yeah, that's where the filming is going to be.
And he actually works for MDC, so, and he's been working there probably over 30 years. And he feels that this is a way to reach the public.
Let me ask
So
a person sitting in the audience, Michael, I don't want to put you on the spot, but when you were with the state police does a lot of advertising, commercials with trying to recruit. Was that a productive source? I mean, did it work? Did y'all?
It did for us.
Did it?
You're talking about a much larger budget and a much larger area to put that out with. Those recruiting campaigns were in the millions of dollars to put that out to marketing to advertising. So those recruiting campaigns do work. We had some positive feedback for it, but it was costly.
Thank you.
Yeah, and on the same vein, the DOD spends millions and millions of dollars with this type of campaigns, but like he said, on a larger, more massive scale. But right now, what we have is job postings on Indeed that are pretty abstract and pitch. A lot of people are visual, and if it can be branded and shown in an appealing light, it might get some people to look into it more.
Well, what I see on here, we've got a lot of our counties that are connected to us, like Lincoln and Chavez, Eddy. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are neighboring counties that are participating. So we'll get people seeing it in their area that could possibly want to live in Otero. So that would be a plus.
Mr. Madden, I would just add, in my experience, I commanded the training recruiting bureau for quite a while in Santa Fe. One of the most positive increases to our numbers comes through word of mouth up there. When you talk to officers or new officers, the reason that they got into law enforcement is because their neighbor was a police officer, their friend was a police officer, their cousin, their brother, their uncle. And that's all exchanged by word of mouth. So I don't think that there's any cost for that. I'll just add that it's a very effective recruiting method. Is by people in a job, personally trying to recruit. Sure, Black has the same things as deputies out there talking to people. They want to work with you.
Thank you. I don't have any more. Do you have any more questions?
Nina, do you know if what they're saying about control of the media that's produced from this? Do they own it, or can we take it and have it available for our use?
I could ask them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can ask that question, definitely. I know they're going to actually do the filming in a detention facility. So that it's in the environment that we do work in, and
Just getting pictures and some video of our officers in their uniforms and the performance of their duties. If we were able to have those, that would be worthwhile for various social media posts, pages on our website, things like that.
Okay, you guys ready to vote on it, or any more questions? Okay, all right. I make a motion for the approval of the expenditure of $19,195.75 to participate in the New Mexico Correction Officers Hero Campaign. Do I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we pass. All right.
you.
I hope we get some good people out of it.
Yes.
Thank you, Nina. Okay, number 24, request approval of resolution number 7-13-23/112-05, supporting caregivers.
I recently attended a New Mexico Direct Caregivers Coalition meeting, which was in support of the failed bill from last year to give caregivers more money, and the importance of our caregivers. It's all in-house and families and taking care of each other and all that kind of stuff. And something that was brought up is that Otero County does something differently with their lift assists and all of that than other counties do. And I just think I want to make it so that we support our caregivers. If the bill is brought forward again next year, that it shows that Otero County supports a bill like this to pay our caregivers more and to start better programs. You know, the people that they care for, it's not just our people on hospice or anything like that. We have some beautiful, beautiful young adults that can be successful in the community with a little bit of assistance, and that they're part of this group. So I felt that writing a resolution that Otero County supports our caregivers was important, and that's what that's about.
Read. Would you like to read it?
Whereas New Mexico faces serious challenges in meeting a long-term care needs of elderly and/or disabled residents who require an adequate and stable supply of caring and well-trained caregivers, and whereas caregivers play a vital role in our community, dictating their time, energy, and resources to provide essential care for individuals who are unable to fully care for themselves, and whereas caregivers contribute significantly to the well-being and quality of life of their care recipients, ensuring their comfort, safety, and daily needs are met, and whereas caregivers often face numerous challenges and sacrifices in their caregiving roles, including emotional and physical stress, financial strain, and reduced opportunities for personal and professional development, whereas recognizing and supporting caregivers is crucial to promote their overall well-being and ensure the sustainability of caregivers' efforts within our community, and whereas providing resources, services, and initiatives that directly assist caregivers can enhance their ability to provide high-quality care and improve the lives of those they support. Whereas NMSA 1978, Section 437.1 provides that counties have the power to provide for the safety, preserve the health, and promote the prosperity and improve the morale, orders, comfort, and convenience of any county or in its inhabitants. Now therefore it be resolved by the Board of the County Commissioners, Otero County, New Mexico, that Otero County Commission expresses its sincere appreciation and gratitude for the tireless dedication and contributions of caregivers within our community. The Otero County Commission commits to actively support and advocate for the needs of caregivers, recognizing their vital role in the well-being of our community. The Otero County Commission and appropriate departments will collaborate with relevant local agencies, organizations, and stakeholders to identify and address the challenges faced by caregivers in Otero County. The Otero County Commission encourages the development and implementation of programs, initiatives, support services, and state, federal policies and legislative that aim to alleviate the burdens faced by caregivers, including but not limited to ensuring accessible, accessible respite care services to provide caregivers with temporary relief and time for self-care, and expanding information and education campaigns to raise awareness about available caregiver resources, support groups, and training opportunities. Collaborate with healthcare providers, social service agencies, and community organizations to enhance caregiver support networks and facilitate access to necessary resources. Financial assistance programs or grants to alleviate the financial burdens associated with caregiving responsibilities. Promoting legislation that encourages workplace flexibility and accommodates the needs of caregivers. Recognition events or ceremonies to honor caregivers' contributions and provide them with a platform to share their experiences. Provide for adequate compensation and benefits for direct care workers and family caregivers. Redesigning and expanding Medicaid benefits to include respite, adult day care services, home modifications, and other long-term services, and supports to enable individuals to save age in place and remain in their homes, and ensure the recipient of the care does not have to deplete most of their assets to qualify for services and support. Supporting the legislative initiatives for the New Mexico Caregivers Coalition that recognize the value and personal and professional contributions of caregivers. The Otero County Commission directs the appropriate departments and agencies within the county government to explore opportunities for funding and partnerships to implement and expand caregiver support programs and services. The Otero County Commission encourages other municipalities, organizations, and institutions within Otero County to join the efforts to support caregivers and collaborate in developing comprehensive caregiver support systems. The Otero County Commission will periodically assess the progress of effectiveness of caregiver support initiatives and encourage necessary adjustments to ensure their continued success. I know it.
A long one.
So, I have just a couple little questions on this. Is this, the way this is wrote, D and G on the last list you just read, are you saying that the county will reimburse the compensation or for families and caseworkers and give financial assistance?
No.
That's not what...
That's not my intent. No, my intent is to just show that we support and will support the programs that do exactly that, but not to actually reimburse or hire anybody to do it.
So RB on F and G, how are you reading that? Is that interpreting the word it's not?
Yeah, I read it just that the commission would be saying that they encourage and support those things, not that they are going to do them as a commission or a county. So it's not putting the county on the hook for these things.
Okay, I just wanted clarification.
It is putting the commission on the hook to support any initiatives or legislation involving these, but not pay for them or start a county program or something.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
All right. I need a motion for the approval of resolution number 7-13-23/11205, supporting caregivers.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Very good. Okay, number 25, request approval to submit a joint meeting with the City of Alamogordo.
I know that the city and the county have always talked about getting together and trying to work together. The city's already approved a meeting for us to meet with them. My purpose is if we can join some kind of a project together, because we ask for money, they ask for money, neither of us get enough money for what we're asking for and nothing gets done. So if we can work together on a couple of projects, like we invest into the senior center. They invest I think it's 80% and we're 20%. Well, maybe we could work collaborative about the senior center or the library, that county residents use the library more, and animal control. As we develop the ordinance and try and get this, maybe we can have a better county animal control instead of separating them. I just wanted to bounce some ideas off where we could share in funding and develop things a little bit better.
Is there anything that prevents us from doing that?
Not necessarily. That counties and cities can enter into joint powers agreements to do various things and initiatives and projects. For like concrete answer, it depends. It depends on what we're looking to do. That could affect it one way or another, but generally, yes.
Okay. So it would be good just to have a meeting and discuss things, because I mean, basically, we would be voting on anything at that meeting.
No, it'd just be a powwow and discuss. I mean, flooding is
That's a big one.
that would be great if we
That's the one that came to
coordinated
mind.
on that, because both city and county residents are affected by all the water running off the mountains, and it's not helpful if the city does something and just pushes it on the county residents, or if county does something and pushes it back towards the city, then we're not working together, and there's things we could work together on and benefit everyone.
All right. Well, I would definitely be in favor of that.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Commissioner Burrell, could I make one suggestion that when you put an item in like this, can you put some documentation with it on what you want to talk about?
Certainly, so all I want to do is just agree to meet.
Yeah.
And then, that's it. And then we'll work on the agenda.
I asked everybody around, do you have any idea what she's wanting to talk about or meet with? And nobody knew anything. So if it was just something brief, I hate to come in here and sit like, this is the $1 million question fixing to hit here. What is it?
Yep.
So
I'm really unsure too. I mean, I have these ideas that I just said out loud, but I didn't know if we should put that in writing or not. That's I definitely want to work together on some projects. I just don't know whatever we as a group decide on.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? No. Okay, I make a motion for the approval to schedule a joint meeting with the City of Alamogordo.
Can you second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, number 26, discuss and receive comments on existing and proposed infrastructure capital improvement plan projects.
Commissioners, it's that time of year. I'm already working on our ICIP for the year. It is due in August. At this meeting, you're simply looking at what we have so far, proposing any ideas, suggestions. At the August meeting, you will be voting on the ICIP and prioritizing. And I will let you know that if we need to add any projects to this, I do need engineering cost estimates as scope of work by the 24th of this month to get them in the system for the meeting.
So my experiences with these have been for a few years, and we just get slapped in the face with them. We've always been putting in big dollar amounts. I'm still trying to pull for the public safety facility in Chaparral, the building addition, the sheriff office. They've got this broke down this year into a 3-year deal, so it'll be smaller dollars. The other ones on the small amounts, I'm in favor for trying to push for all the sheriff fleet, the emergency services, the piece of road equipment. I've asked Pamela, or I've given her a little information on some grants I was hoping that might fall into that Sacramento River guardrail deal. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to Pablo or not.
I know that sometime this week, it's on my calendar, he's participating in a webinar on that tribal government funding, on how you can apply and the requirements. So we should have more information after he attends that. And I do want to remind you, the ICIP is not a funding request. You are not picking projects for capital outlay. This is our plan.
Yeah.
And to apply for grants, you don't have to have it on your ICIP, except for capital outlay. But with some grants, you get higher points if it's listed on the ICIP. So we can have 70 items on here, as many as we need. Items are only removed from this list once they're fully funded. We typically leave them on, or if the board says we're going to scrap that and we don't want to work on it.
Well, like I say, I feel maybe we're going to stand a better chance the smaller the dollar amounts are. My experience from Representative Madrid and Chaparral was that he wasn't going to give all of his money for that area to that public safety facility, which last year was 1.3 million, if I remember right. So if that's just an example. So, you know, they've got it to spread around through everybody. So August is when we'll prioritize these?
Yes, right now it's just if you have any questions of me, if you want to know
Why
about
don't
the
we-
project.
Is this something we could add a request for a ditch crew equipment?
You can add equipment, and we do have some road equipment on here. Recently, we met with both Matt and Tom, and in those discussions, equipment is not really the issue, it's manpower.
The people.
Right.
What happened to people wanting to work? I mean, I'm not kidding. This is insane.
The Railroad Avenue Bridge, is that Tularosa? Railroad in Tularosa?
Yes, I believe so.
So is this a proposal to build a bridge over the Arroyo? Is that,
Let me pull up the verbiage for you. Okay. That is to plan, design, construct, and replace a low water crossing on Railroad Avenue Bridge in Otero County. And that includes plan and design.
Railroad Drive in Tilly doesn't have a big bridge, do they?
they just got that one Arroyo. That's the only thing I could think of where all the homeless are
Mhm.
sleeping right now. That's, I didn't even know we had a proposal for that.
And I believe that project was on last year as well.
So there's nothing to vote on for this right now?
No.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to number 27, Laura Whiteside, Otero County Treasurer, will present an update to the Otero County investments. They look pretty good.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Laura Whiteside, Otero County Treasurer. I believe we have attachments, Daniel? Can you do the pro rata? Okay, since this is Commissioner Barella's first time hearing my presentation, I'm going to just start from the beginning, explaining how I decide on my investments. First off, according to New Mexico state law, we have to give each of our local banks within the jurisdiction of Otero County the opportunity to take some of Otero County's money and invest it. However, there are caveats. They have to meet or beat the U.S. Treasury rate, and they also have to collateralize anything over $250,000, which is the FDIC amount. So last time I came, I barely had any money locally because none of the banks were able to meet that rate, and nor did they want to collateralize the money, and rates were very low at that time. So I had to invest elsewhere. But recently, the banks have been coming to me, asking me for money, and they've been willing to meet those stipulations. So as stuff matures, I've been offering it to the local banks. So this is the worksheet I use to determine how much each local bank is entitled to. What we do is we take all their local investments, and we determine their pro rata share of that. So banks with lower local deposits will be entitled to less money. Banks with higher local deposits will be entitled to more money. And this worksheet tells me how much they are entitled to if we are over or under. And a lot of them are under right now because they are not wanting to meet those rates, or they only want the amount that is collateralized by FDIC, which is $250,000. As your treasurer, safety is my number one priority, and liquidity is my second priority, and then yield is the third priority. So if we can go to the next attachment, which is the investment portfolio. This is how all of the investments are spread out. The top portion is our local investments. You will see the banks that they are with and the interest rates we are getting on them, and also the terms of the investments. These are CDs or just normal money market or bank accounts. So we have about $8 million invested locally. After that, I am able to invest in brokered CDs and also securities. So the next portion of the portfolio is the securities. You can scroll down one page. That totals $30 million. These are mortgage-backed securities like Freddie Mac or Federal Farm Home Loan, Fannie Mae. These are considered one of the most secure investments there are. And if you'll look at the rates over at the side, there's some very low rates that were invested back in 2020 during COVID when rates almost dropped down to nothing. And as you see, some of the stuff that's been invested more recently, we've gotten up to over 5% on those. If they are highlighted in yellow, they are callable. So what happens is they are stuck in there sealed in for a term, and then after that call date, they can call them if, like, say, rates drop and they want to refinance, basically, they can get that money back. So the yellow ones are callables. The ones that are not highlighted are bullets, and they are sealed in until the term matures. The next section is brokered CDs. This is something that when I first came into office, we were allowed to start investing in, and they are investments with banks throughout the United States that are up to the $250,000 that is secured by FDIC. Each of these investments are with a different QSIP number and a different FDIC number, so they are collateralized up to $250,000. And we have $12 million in brokered CDs. Lastly, I have $1 million invested in U.S. Treasuries. I started going to that option whenever the rates were really falling and the local banks weren't wanting our money, so that I could get something invested and not just let it sit there in the bank and not collect any interest. Oh, we also have the LGIP. The LGIP is through the state treasurer's office. It's the local government investment pool. We're actually getting a really good return on that, and although it's not included in my liquid funds, that money is somewhat liquid, and I'm able to pull from it with at least a 2-day notice and get that money out of there if needed. At the bottom of the of this page, I just have a summary. I try to keep $4 million liquid at all times, just in case we have a big bills list or some kind of expenditure that needs to come out. I have it $5 million right now because it's the summer and we're not going to be collecting any tax funds, and we're going to be spending it. So it'll be down to $4 million probably next week. We have our weighted average maturity and our weighted average percentage rate, and our average yield, 63,000. And that's weighted. It's like over the whole span of the time that these are invested. It's not just today. I've also kept track of how much interest we have earned since 2016 when I took office. As you can see, the first 4 years, it was increasingly good. 2020, it kind of went down. Oh, this cut off. There's 2023 is supposed to, 2022 and 23 is supposed to be on there. But we'll get to that. I have another paper that has that on there. We're back up into the 600,000s for 2023. Sorry about that. All right. Lastly, I had done this before. Can you go to the next one? It's the web fax or something like that. Yeah. I had done an insert on our tax bills back in 2019 when the tax bills were delayed, and I was afraid people were going to be confused on why they didn't get a tax bill, but I went ahead and included a lot of this information, and so I'm doing it again, and I've put it on our website because an insert's rather expensive. But this shows the distribution of taxes throughout Otero County and what percentage goes to where. As you can see, Otero County General Fund gets the greatest amount, and then Alamogordo Public Schools, and so on. I won't go through them all. Below are the county investments. This breaks it down where the money is invested at and how much in local banks, agencies, brokered CDs, and U.S. Treasuries, and the LGIP. And then also our investment earnings. This is where I was saying that cut off before. In 2022, we made $645,000 in interest. 2021 was about half of that at $358,000, and in 2020, $481,000. I have some taxable facts for you. It just shows how much the tax roll has increased from 2021 to 2022 and how many new parcels were added. I'm very proud of our collection rate. This is our 3-year average. We are at 98% collection in property taxes at the fiscal year end. I just want to brag on my staff. I have them constantly researching. We get a ton of return mail, so obviously those are not being paid unless they're through a mortgage company. And they are always doing research, trying to find these people, reach out to them, let them know their taxes are not paid. We go through, I think I've told you all this before, we go through obituaries, we go through old deeds, we go through liens, just trying to find someone that is interested in paying these taxes. Also, after taxes are 3 years delinquent, they're turned over to the state for collection. And at that point, we lose all the penalty and interest. That no longer comes to the county, that goes to the state to fund them collecting those taxes. So it's always my goal every year to turn over as few as possible that are 3 years delinquent so that we can keep that money here in Otero County. And we just turned that over this year, this past, well, actually I'm going to do it this week. I'm going to turn over the list this week. So we'll see how that went. Taxes are due November 1st, and they're due November 10th, and the second half is due April 10th. I also put the steps in the formation of the tax bill because I think a lot of people don't understand how that works. When people get their tax bill, they call and complain to me about it being high. However, I'm not in control of that. That's the assessor's office. They assess the value. The value is applied to the rate, and that creates the amount that is due. So if anybody is unhappy with the amount of their taxes, they need to protest that whenever the notice of values come out, not when the tax bills come out. So this just goes through the steps, how the assessor does the appraisal, it goes to DFA, the rates are set, and then the assessor issues the tax roll to the county treasurer for collection. So I have all this available on the website now for people to view. And I just wanted to go over these investments with you. There was some questions about collateralization, and I just wanted to assure you all that I monitor that monthly with the local banks. They submit to me a report that tells me it has lots of ratios on the security of their bank, and that's how we determine how much collateral they need to provide. Do you all have any questions?
Good stuff.
I know, it's a lot of work.
So all the money that we have in the bank, that's not including that's not the general fund, correct? Or that is the general fund money?
General fund money is included in that.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
All right, thank you all.
Good job.
The big job. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to make a motion to hold an executive session under NMSA 1978, 10-15-1.
Are we going to do the other stuff before that?
Oh, I forgot that. Oh, my gosh.
We can skip it, it doesn't matter to me.
I have to go to the restroom, so can we take a real quick break and then we'll do this? I forgot that. Okay, let's take a super quick break. Are we ready to start? We good? Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to our commissioners' discussion. Commissioner Matherly?
Yeah. Monday night, I went down to Chaparral to another one of the community development centers meetings, and they really had a big participation. They had 2 or 3 of the healthcare facilities and program come down, and they were talking about, and it was mostly on older people, home care and stuff. Some of the problems down there, they got a real earful. I think they opened up quite a bit. out of that meeting, I'm going to try to go to the hospital board and see what the possibilities of maybe of urgent care being put down there. They have a couple of little clinics. They're kind of like, maybe they're open on Tuesday, or they're an 8 to 5 deal. They're in the 30,000 plus people down there now, so the closest place is either get in and drive to, well, of course, El Paso, but most of them are having to go to either Cruces or come up here. So I don't know if the hospital, their range is to even go down there. So I'm just going to talk to him and see what the possibility that is there. I sit through a virtual meeting for Commissioner Markwart and Ralph while they were both gone for the waste conservation deal, and that was a little interesting. First time I'd sit in one of those, but I just voted and agreed with everybody else because I had no clue what they were talking about. So, and then we went through another meeting on the sewer planning down in Chaparral. Supposedly they're supposed to kind of give us some options and, like RB called it, a roadmap of what possibilities down there. And there was a couple of things that were mentioned in that meeting that was kind of interesting, but we still have to resolve them on what Commissioner or Representative Madrid said. We had a big meeting out in Bowles Acres on some drainage ditches out there. Had RB, Tom, and Matt, and myself. They got worked out. We all agreed we have issues on that. The main issue is not enough personnel to do it. I did learn that Matt has quite a bit of equipment, so several pieces of equipment, which would save if we could find some people to operate it. So that's going to be a goal to try to man some of that. And then went to the Center of Commerce annual banquet meeting, which was pretty interesting. It was a good fun night. So that's about what I've been up to.
Okay. Went to the broadband boot camp, had a very good team from Otero County there. We were very excited. We had Pablo and two of our techs and from the assessor's office. So we've got almost 50% of the committee formed and ready to set a date. Empowerment Congress and the OBAE are also going to attend our first few committee meetings so they can kind of set us moving forward grants and funding and direction. I've already started writing the mission statement and some goal setting and all that kind of stuff so that we can really hit the ground running when we have our first meeting. I'm just waiting a couple of our Otero County departments to assign me a person, but we might have to move on without them. I've taken 9 more classes towards certification of county commissioner and public official. Well, that's going to be done hopefully this year. What else have we done? I went to the Bent community. They held a little community meeting at the fire department with their concerns, and very good concerns. You know, just the speeding and the roads. I drove all of the roads and their driveways to look at their concerns, and Tom is already going to be addressing 2 of the culverts. I think we came to an issue of where we are not maintaining a road that the state highway department pays us to maintain, so we'll be now addressing that in front of the post office, which has a very large lip entering and exit the post office. And let's see what else. The book walk, the Tularosa Library book walk is this Saturday. We have 13 elected officials that are going to be reading to the kids at different street corners. We have somebody that's donating water, somebody that's donating books, and somebody that's donating hot dogs. So I look forward to that. We have designated a walk area that is not on the busy roads so that there'll be kids in the streets. So just warn everybody not to run over our kids. And then we'll end at the library with a celebrations and hopefully promote some of the resources. Something else that came out of the exciting from the boot camp is telehealth that we'll have to definitely be working with with broadband in libraries. They're wanting to put in every single library like a little room where somebody can go in. These telehealth things can read your temperature, your heart rate, just from the TV screen.
Crazy.
And so that's going to be exciting to develop that. And I've already reached out, the library, Alamogordo Library and the Tularosa Library has already assigned somebody to be on our committee to make sure that they get that development. I don't know what else. I just do it.
Okay.
I think that's it.
So I need to get with you on where I need to be in Thule and my directions.
Do you want to read?
Yeah, I told you.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, yep. Animal control, we met with the ordinance. I think that that's moving forward very well. It seems like it's snail's pace, but when you're in that room making those suggestions for the ordinances, I think we're making some good strides. And I look forward for that to be finished, so we can move on to our next ordinance. But I hope it improves I don't want to put down any puppies, none, 0. That's not an option. So that's all I have.
Okay. All right. Since our last meeting, I judged the speeches for the 4-H kids again this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. These are great kids in our community, and they're going to save our country. I think they're about the only hope we have left. I attended a Zoom meeting regarding the letter to the BLM opposing the 30 by 30 land situation that's going on, and RB was also there, Margaret Byfield. We had commissioners from Otero, Lee, Chavis, and Roosevelt counties. I was in Farmington from the 12th to the 16th of June for the New Mexico Association of Counties conference, and then I attended a New Mexico Federal Lands Council meeting on my way home from Farmington that was held in Socorro. And then I was also at the banquet, the Alamogordo Center of Commerce Change of Command banquet. I attended the City Commission meeting a couple of nights ago, and that was interesting on some of the houses that they're getting rid of. And then I leave next week for Austin for the National Association of Counties Conference. So I'll be gone for a week for that. So that's what I've been up to. So, Pamela, I know you have a short report.
As you know, I returned to work Thursday after an extended vacation, and my office has been a revolving door.
Yes.
So I have not had time to take any notes on what I accomplished in June, so I do apologize.
We're glad you got a vacation.
We're glad you're
I need a
back.
vacation from this vacation.
I know. I understand.
We're glad you're back and you don't have any time off.
Good morning, Commissioners. So the La Luz Gate Road grant was submitted by our grant writer. That came together really well, and I think we got a good shot at that. Comments were submitted on our behalf for the BLM rule that we've discussed quite a bit. They were submitted by the coalition of counties and other agencies that we joined, which I think is, we're calling it the Multiple Use Alliance now. So those comments were submitted. They will be submitting some more comments on or around July 20th for the Forest Service rule that was being considered. And as I said earlier, Forest Supervisor Erica Luna called me this morning, and again, she sent her apologies that they couldn't be here today. But she wanted me to let you know that there would be prescribed burns that were occurring near Cloudcroft today. The Fish and Wildlife Service and Game and Fish meeting will be tentatively the 3rd week of August is what they're shooting for. It's probably going to be, they're scheduling it for a full day. We don't know if it'll take that long. They are having a third-party facilitator run the meeting, which is probably a good idea, keep us on track and focused and not running down rabbit holes or rehashing the past, and keep us moving forward. They're looking at either having it at the college or maybe the School for Blind. It won't be a public meeting. The presence of who is coming is going to be mainly up to the Gosses. And they are also who has the responsibility for setting up most of the agenda. So I will send ideas to them for discussion points, agenda items. If you have any of those, please send them to me, things you want discussed. Obviously, it's going to be focused mostly on elk and what do we do about them. But if there's questions or things that you do want to bring up, just please send those to me. And she said that the first round of interviews for her replacement have occurred. There's one more round, and they hope to have someone in place in about a month. And even if she is gone to Phoenix, she will come back to do turnover with the person, and they're going to do a tour of each section of the Lincoln National Forest, and they will set up meetings with the commission or any allotment owners that want to meet with them. And they're really committed to continuing the progress that we've made towards a better relationship, and they want to keep building on it. So hopefully they get the right person in there that will continue doing that, but we shall see. Last week I was in a meeting with our grant writer and representatives from Wilson Company, and it was to discuss the Tiburon guardrail project, and then also other potential grants for things like that. In particular, we discussed needing tools and grants to address flood control, flood issues in the county. And a useful thing that came out of that is that we need I think they called it a drainage assessment map, something like that. Essentially, it's going to, it would be an analysis of the county and where flooding areas are and where the water needs to go. That would be really helpful for us for strategic planning of a ditch crew or whatever we get in place, but also for any grants that we apply for. So they're supposed to follow up with me and provide info on what exactly that entails, what a cost would be. I guess they're doing one for Cibola County right now. So I think it would be good. I have a lot of questions about it. Just because in my mind, we're a big county, so what does something like that look like, and how affordable is it? But hopefully I'll have more info on that soon. So I attended my first meeting as a member of the Board of Center of Commerce about 2 weeks ago. Lots of change and turnover going there. The final round of interviews for the executive director are occurring right now. So hopefully tomorrow, early next week, we'll know who the executive director is going to be, and then once they're on board, they'll start looking at hiring an operations manager and getting that going. But
RV, with the meeting with the Forest Service and the Fish and Wildlife and Department of Game and Fish, will all three of us be able to attend that?
yes.
Okay. All right. One other thing real quick before during the meetings on the drainage ditch and stuff with RB and Pamela and Tom and Matt, the discussion of contracting out some of this work came up. So it'll be a deal, we'll try to discuss that a little more. If we can't get to it, maybe our option is, and if we can get some grant money for that too, for one way to take care of it. So we're still working on that part.
That would be awesome. Okay. Now can I make a motion? Okay, I make a motion to hold an executive session under NMSA 1978-10-15-1. Can I think we have to adjourn, do I have to adjourn this meeting?
No, no.
You just do a roll call.
Yeah, I need a second.
Oh,
Second that.
okay.
Mr. Markwart?
Here?
Mrs. Varela? Here. Mr. Levin?
Here.
I don't have to put my glasses on.
I know some of them are so tiny.
Do it right, or I